Welcome back to the home of living foods in the UK, and we're going to make another homemade product today which is really essential for your overall health and something which you should always have to hand and have every day. And I'm talking about fermented vegetables. And of course you can make loads and loads and loads of different ones. You can make kimchi, you can make sauerkraut out of all different kinds of cabbage and so on. Today I'm just going to do a very simple red cabbage sauerkraut with juniper berries and using rock salt as well, which is something some people put in and some people don't. When Dr. Anne Wigmore taught us, including on the course that I went to visit her in Boston in the late 70s. Yes, is that half a century ago? My goodness, it is, isn't it? And thanks to her and that initial course, my health turned around completely in that couple of weeks that I was with her, and I was inspired to come home and study naturopathy and then eventually start teaching these courses. And here I am still doing, not full residential courses anymore, but welcoming people to day workshops. So I hope I'll see some of you on a day workshop not too distant future. Anyway, today we're going to do red cabbage sauerkraut. And I want to remind you, which I'm sure you know, is that fermented foods are very, very important for your gut health. And if your gut isn't balanced with the right flora in there, you don't feel well, your entire system is out of kilter, and all kinds of things that can happen, and you can get invasions of things like candida and all kinds of bugs can get in there. So a healthy bloodstream really comes from a healthy, well-functioning gut, and I would suggest that you have some kind of fermented product every single day, and you very soon learn to crave it. It's like when you first get it into sprouting your things, sprouting your alfalfa seeds and broccoli seeds and things, that a sandwich doesn't feel right without it, or a salad doesn't feel right without it. And similarly, when you're growing these little indoor greens, here I've got snow peas. For some reason I haven't got any sunflower greens, baby sunflowers, but I've got lots of snow peas at the moment, and of course the wheatgrass. Right, so back to the importance of fermented foods to keep your gut balanced and the flora healthy. The easiest way to do this is to have a big spoonful or two of some kind of fermented vegetable every day. You can put it in your morning smoothie. I don't think I've told you about my personal recipe for my breakfast, but maybe I'll make another one of these little YouTubes about it. So you can put it in your smoothie and whiz it up, which obviously gives it a sour taste. You can have it with your salads. You can put it in a sandwich if you're still eating bread, or on crackers or whatever. So red cabbage sauerkraut, which is the traditional ingredient for sauerkraut in a lot of northern and middle Europe, because it grows well, the cabbages stay in the ground over winter, and on the hillsides nearby you find the juniper bushes where you get the juniper berries that make that gorgeous flavour that really goes with the red cabbage. So let's get stuck in. I've got some ready chopped red cabbage. I didn't grow this myself, but I do grow on my little allotment patch some cabbages, of which the red ones are a very useful addition. So we're first of all just going to reduce this to a much smaller texture. So now if you have a look in there, you can see that that's a fairly granular texture, and you can ferment it at that stage of granularity, and I'll just show you, I'll just bring across one. If you see there, there's still quite a bit of texture in that one, but many people like to take it down to a much finer consistency than that, so I'm going to do that. So what we'll do is put some of this in a Kilner jar, and you've got the possibility now of additives, which some people use, some people don't. I like to put the juniper berries in because they give you that lovely explosion of rich, mellow flavour in with the mouthful of the sour cabbage when you're eating it. And I also like to put some salt in it, some rock salt in it, because that helps to bring out the juices in the cabbage, and generally I think make an overall more complete product. So we'll just spoon some of this in. This can get a bit messy if you're in a hurry. So the rock salt just sprinkled in layers. This is a pretty rough and ready, but you just want to tamp it down a little bit. While I'm doing this, I'll just tell you how Dr. Anne taught us, which is the way she did it as a small child in Lithuania. For her families, for the household, when they all did it together, and they would pound the cabbages, loads and loads of cabbages, and they would pound it in a big sort of crock thing, and everybody took turns pounding it, and that was to get the juices going, and then it would be left outside the house by the house wall or in an outhouse to ferment, and it would be stored in big crocks. So they must have had an awful lot of cabbages. As you can see, one reasonable sized cabbage here only fills one Kilner jar. So if you're going to make a winter's supply or a few months' supply, you need to have a good few Kilner jars in your store cupboard and plenty of cabbages ready. She showed us that method, and we did that on her course in Boston in the late 70s, which is when I was there, and it was great fun. And in fact I started doing it that way when I started my own living foods courses up here in Ludlow in Shropshire, and now modern technology has taken over. People don't have time to do that anymore. They don't grow a lot of their own cabbages. I'm trying to grow a lot of my own food at the moment for all sorts of reasons, partly because it's a lovely thing to do and to be in touch with the seasons and the plants, and to be able to have organic, chemical-free stuff. Though of course we can't stop things raining down out of the sky on it. Everything from acid rain to the kind of things that we're getting coming down now. However, I still like to control as much as I can of my own food production, and this is fun. I'm just going to add a little bit of water so that it's going to take the salt down, and it's going to give a little impetus to the process of the fermentation. And just encourage a little bit of the fermented juices to come to the top. So we're just taking bits of the outer cabbage leaf and we're just putting a little cap of the cabbage leaves on top here, which helps to seal it in, stop the air getting to it, which could just give you a bit of mould on the top. But if you do get a bit of mould on the top, just scoop it off and chuck it in the compost. It's not going to ruin your jar of delicious sauerkraut. So we just press that down a little bit, add a little bit more water. I'm going to close the jar down like that, because what will happen is as it ferments, you get the air bubbling up and you get pressure underneath there, and you'd get it forcing its way out, the liquid. So what we do is leave it slightly open like that, and then if for any reason it's a little bit over full or the process is going to get very enthusiastic, and in case there is a little spillage of liquid, I just put each of the Kilner jars in a little bowl or saucer or something like that, so that you don't get a horrible mess all over your countertop. So let me just recap. Sauerkraut is an amazingly useful balancer of the gut flora. It's a good idea for all sorts of reasons. Our ancestors had, well, our forebears, not exactly ancient ancestors, but throughout Europe particularly, we've used sauerkraut for generations and generations, and it's a really nice habit to get into. Some people don't like the sour taste to start with, but it's something that you learn to love eventually as you get used to it. And I certainly can't envisage a plate of salad without a big dollop of either kimchi, which you can also make for yourself, or sauerkraut. So come on one of our informal days at some point and try making one of these recipes for yourself. I'll just give you a few bits of information about that. You can follow on LinkedIn, Twitter and Facebook. There's a contact form on the front page of the website. There's lots of articles and specialist pieces and guest writers from time to time. You can have a look at all the different YouTubes and know a little bit about what you're going to do before you get here. I don't anymore offer 5-day or even long weekend courses. I'm just limiting it now this year as an experiment to 1 day informal days here, just spent asking whatever questions you want to ask and making lunch in the Living Foods kitchen, and just generally having an informal day. So if you want to know if I've done any more of these, which I might, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I've already said do follow us on the social media platforms to let you know about things, and every now and again I'll send out gardening tips and recipes and that sort of thing as well. Anyway, stay in touch.